Welcome back, everyone. Pal Ponder on Weather here. In this update, we've got some dangerous storms ahead with very large hail, intense winds, and including some strong tornadoes as the heat really starts to build in from the south. But the cooler air actually moves in out west starting next week. So let's take a look at the details going forward. And we can start off with the satellite picture and take a look at this just active, persistent subtropical jet stream coming off the eastern Pacific. That is the fuel. That's the El Nino type driven that's fueling these supercells. We've got numerous MCSs that are coming across that are diving southeast. That is setting the stage for multiple rounds of severe storms today. In fact, we do already have some active severe thunderstorm watches and including tornado watches in place. And then the heat really starts to build out from Mexico, moving into Texas. And then it gets really chilly out west, but that actually won't be until next week. So let's take a look at the setup going forward. But man, the last 3 days, folks, has been just insane. I mean, this is the overall hail reports just from the last 72 hours. And look at this. I mean, it's basically right along this boundary. We've seen just numerous, 1 inch, including up to 5 inch in diameter hail originating off into portions of Colorado, diving through the Texas panhandle and right along this boundary into central and north Texas, moving across portions, a good part of the southeast. So that's where we've seen all the activity as of late. And we're going to be seeing more activity in the days to come in the kind of the same general area, and it's all complements of this mid-level jet. I mean, this just active, persistent mid-level jet is just screaming across the deep south, and that is continuing to fuel these thunderstorms. We've got an area low pressure up here along the Great Lakes that actually brought some chillier conditions for them, and definitely some much needed rains for a good part of the Ohio Valley. But that's actually going to be shifting northbound and going into portions of the Northeast as well as in New England for the next couple of days, and actually keep them unsettled as well. So for today, here's the overall setup. We've got some just dangerous heat indices down here in South Texas. In fact, yesterday alone, McAllen, Texas, 126 degree on the heat index, folks. That is some serious, dangerous stuff. But you can see the heat is really starting to build, and those heat advisories are going to lift all the way up into central Texas and going on the southern fringes of North Texas. The area in pink here, that is an active severe thunderstorm watch along the Red River area. We do have several cells that are actually already turned severe. We have another watch up here towards Arkansas, as well as into portions of northern Mississippi. Further to the south, those areas in green have our flash flood watches in place for the next couple of days. And then we already have an active tornado watch and actually several tornado warnings and even some confirmed tornadoes already on the ground this morning. But if you're in the market for a weather station, we've got Father's Day coming up this weekend. I do highly recommend the Tempest Weatherflow weather station. It's actually the one I have, but they're actually running a special right now and $40 off. That's the discount between now and Father's Day. It's the cool thing about it is it's all solar. It's a 5-in-1 system. It's got a desktop version as well as the mobile app to download as well. So my whole family has it on their phone. But yeah, if you'd like to get one for yourself, I do have a discount code, and I'll have that in the description below. But the code is 4DAD. It gives you $40 off and free shipping at checkout. So between now and Father's Day, so you're able to take advantage of that special discount. But for today, we've got a dangerous day ahead, folks. This is actually a very kind of rare for mid-June standards to see a moderate risk, especially such a huge expansion of a moderate risk. And it's all complements of this El Nino driven jet stream that's screaming across the deep south. And so we've got just a maximizing day of severe storms. So that moderate risk includes all the way up into the Dixie Alley region, Jackson, into Montgomery, portions of Mobile. So, I mean, the winds are just going to be very intense. Very rare to see a 45% zone of destructive winds. I mean, we're talking 70, 80. I couldn't even some 90-mile-per-hour winds today in some of these areas as these just scream across to the east. And unfortunately, it's upgraded to a hatched risk for strong tornadoes as well. So this is an all three modes event. It's a very dangerous day. It's a day that you have to be extremely weather aware. They've already have tornado warnings. In fact, several tornadoes were actually on the ground already. So it's going to be a long day, folks. This is just now getting going. So anywhere in this zone into the southeast, you definitely have to have a safety plan in place and take all necessary precautions to get out of harm's way, because it's one of those days you got to keep extra alert to the weather and heed warnings and stay in your safe zone until the warning is lifted. But the helicity tracks are extreme, folks. I mean, this whole area. This is why they have the, you know, the enhanced and the moderate risk in place. This is where the updrafts are going to be. This is where the potential potential tornadic tracks could be, potential hail tracks could be. So it's a pretty big area, folks. I mean, this is definitely a dangerous day across a good part of eastern Texas, going through Arkansas, all the way up into Mississippi, into Alabama, back into Georgia, even parts of the Carolinas. So this whole area just needs to be on high alert, and it's a high impact day for tornadoes as well, unfortunately. And that's why they do have that 10% hatched risk. But the tornado parameters are pretty much off the charts, guys. That's rare in itself too. So it's something that you typically don't see this far south this time of year, but it's all that mid-level jet that we've been talking about, and that just kind of that El Nino driven jet stream, and plenty of water vapor, plenty of fuel. The dew points are just insanely high for, you know, this time of year. And we just got all the elements in play, unfortunately, for a widespread severe weather outbreak today across the good parts of the southeast. But there are numerous warnings right now, and this is going to kind of be scattered activity kind of all day long. So even by towards 8 o'clock tonight, we could be having more cells just moving across. So it's already active this morning, but it's going to continue to remain active all day long and actually through the evening time frame. So this is kind of a long duration event that you just need to kind of keep weather aware in these regions for, heed these warnings in a big way. And then heading into tomorrow, things change a little bit, but not much. It's this ridge down in Mexico. It's really kind of take its sweet time lifting north. So it's going to bump an inch further north. And as it does, that's going to push the boundary just a little bit further north as well. So we're going to have kind of these ridge rider type setups for portions of the south central states. And it's going to be overturning and overriding that over the ridge. So going in even under the day on Thursday, I even do feel even these get it kind of expanded and intensified as well. But nonetheless, there are going to be storms kind of blowing up in the heat of the afternoon across portions of Kansas, diving into Oklahoma. That would likely fishtail down into North Texas and East Texas again, and then traversing across in some of the same areas with a slight risk already in place, with more activity during the daytime tomorrow back into Mobile, maybe a little further south than what it is today, but nonetheless, definitely more storms coming your way for the panhandle of Florida. But if you combine the next 2 days as far as these intense winds, and this is why they do have that 45% huge hatched risk in place with just very destructive, damaging winds. The latest high resolution guidance is already maximizing out over 100 miles an hour, folks. So yes, some of these could be 70, 80, 90 miles an hour, even approach almost 100 miles an hour in some isolated cases, as these little bow echoes will be just screaming across this whole zone from basically a central Mississippi, get into Alabama and heading into Georgia. So the favorite areas are right in those central southeast states for the next 2 days. And that's exactly why they have the flash flood watches in place. And it's exactly where the heavier rains are going to be unfolding, diving in from Oklahoma, diving through Arkansas with multiple inches of rain, Where it could really start to intensify is right here in portions of central Mississippi and Alabama. Some of these areas could get 6, 7, 8 inches of rain is definitely not out of the question, as some of these supercells just kind of train over the same area. With dew points in the 70s, it doesn't take much to get 2-inch per hour rainfall rates. And if you got something sitting over your area for a couple of hours, I mean, you just do the math, folks. It adds up quickly in a big way. So that's why they have those flash flood watches in place. And we're probably going to be seeing isolated pockets of flash flood warnings, unfold as this event really starts to intensify, throughout the day. But the heat is the real deal further south, folks. I mean, I showed you those dangerous heat indices further south into the Rio Grande Valley, but all that does is just lift northbound as we get closer into that Friday time frame. And this is the latest heat index numbers as we go into, say, 4 o'clock on Friday, with just 110, 115 degrees. Feels like it's just going to feel yucky out there and oppressive, very oppressive heat. But if you're in the northern periphery, you're going to be on the cool side, back into Oklahoma and parts of northern Arkansas and back into Missouri. But that's exactly where the storms are going to be, right? So it's going to be away from the ridge, up and over the ridge as we get into Friday. So I think the tap shut off for a good part of Texas with that ridge, but now it just lifts further north. So now that puts portions of Tulsa into play, into Little Rock more into play, and back into Memphis and portions of Birmingham, as these would go from northwest and dive down to the southeast. That'll be on the day on Friday. But again, as we transfer into Saturday, we still have that ridge of high pressure just kind of locked over Texas, right? So it just builds just a little bit further north. Just every day it just builds a little bit further north, and that's going to put the storm track a little bit further north as well. So we know we have that low pressure just kind of meandering on the Great Lakes now, but by the time we get into Saturday, it's going to be moving off into portions of the Northeast and back into New England. So this makes this area unsettled, not severe, but like a cooler rain showers, moderate rains in these regions back in New Jersey, getting into New York City, back into Massachusetts, maybe possibly Rhode Island, Connecticut, back into Vermont, New Hampshire, and even portions into Maine will be getting even chillier and colder as that low pressure center just kind of moves up the coastline by then. But yeah, as we look at the latest update, even 4 days out, again, it's just going to be on that northern periphery of that ridge. Right now, we have yet another severe weather chance, even this far out, back into Dodge City, back into Tulsa again, back into the Wichita region. So this will actually likely to expand, probably include portions of Memphis and probably portions of Oklahoma City and Little Rock again on the northern periphery of where that ridge will be by the time we go into that Saturday time frame. But again, Sunday, it's kind of the same deal, right? You gotta get what's going to happen here is the ridge builds, and as the ridge builds further north, that puts the storm track further north as well. So we're going to have these isolated mesoscale convective systems form. And then as they dive southeast, they might bow out and have some of those destructive winds. And that would put the placement of that severe storms by the time we head into your Sunday, Father's Day timeframe, over portions of Missouri and back in maybe in portions of, say Tennessee by then. And as it kind of dives southeast. So yes, day 5 risk, right? Day 5 this far out has the placement of that, where the severe storms, the best estimate where it could be right now within this zone, back into portions of Paducah, into Memphis, back into the Birmingham region again. So again, this whole area would probably be expanded and probably extended further off into the southeast as we get closer to the event. But yeah, here's the situation, folks. You essentially have this ridge continuing to build from the deep south. And then you have that little coolness aloft. You got little cool pockets aloft. And so whenever you have some weakness in the ridge, that's where the storms are going to be. So as we head into your Monday timeframe, this would probably be the favorite area for where the severe storms could possibly be by then. We're still going to have our low pressure center up here into portions of New England, and then the ridges are going to start to build back up again in portions of our north central states and back into portions of Canada, while at the same time we've got a pretty significant trough that's going to be diving in off the west coast and off the Pacific Northwest and off of British Columbia region. That's actually going to bring some really kind of chillier air and even cold for this time of year for a good part of the country. And so as you wake up on Tuesday, yeah, we could be looking at several areas of actually record low temperatures, if you can believe that or not. I mean, some of these areas could actually drop down into freezing. And if we're talking some of the higher elevations, even below freezing. So it's going to be feeling every bit like, you know, still springtime in a lot of these regions, and not as it gets closer to summer, but it's going to feel every bit like summer down further to the south. And these are lows where you're just not even going to get out of the 80s even at nighttime. So that summertime, you know, full steam ahead, folks. I mean, so that ridge just kind of locks in over Texas, and I think that will just kind of expand and really start to take over as we get deeper into the next week. But out west, we could be talking snow, or those areas where we could be dipping below freezing, and we've got that unsettled weather with that trough coming in. So it's not out of the question. In some of the higher elevations, you could actually see some decent snowfall out of this deal for your third week of June, right? So that's definitely on the way. So if you want to escape the heat, all you got to do is head west, and you're going to be feeling plenty of chilly air as we head into next week. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch me next update where I protect you for and after the storm.